Hello class, this is Camille, Padal, Hamza, Wynn, and Safla. And today we will teach you how to create a phylogenetic tree. Let's start off with the classifications. There are 8 different major levels of class, with domain being the broadest. And going down the list, it would be kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species, with species being the most narrow. And as you go down from domain, it gets narrower. For our animal, we chose the dairy cow. The domain of the dairy cow is Eukarya. The kingdom, Animalia. Phylum, Chordata. Class, Mammalia. Order, Artiodactyla. And family, Bovidae. Genus, Bos. And species, Taurus.
A cladogram is a diagram that depicts evolutionary relationships among groups. The way to read a cladogram is from left to right, and the clades indicate the shared common characteristics for the organism beyond the point of its location.
A phylogenetic tree is a cladogram that uses different branch lengths to represent the time in which a number of character changes from ancestor to a new species took place. The difference between the branches in a cladogram and a phylogenetic tree is that the branches in a cladogram do not represent anything, while on a phylogenetic tree they represent the character changes from ancestor to a new species. The data used to make a phylogenetic tree is shared derived characteristics and DNA/protein sequence data. Shared derived characteristics are physical traits that represent evolutionary history, such as homologous structures. DNA/protein sequence data are differences in sequences that accumulate as species evolve away from each other.
There are 2 steps to constructing a cladogram or a phylogenetic tree. In step 1, you must determine the similarities among organisms. In the second step, you must use these similarities in order to arrange the organisms in a tree diagram showing the simplest possible evolution. This is called maximum parsimony. Maximum parsimony is the method of constructing a phylogenetic tree using the least evolutionary changes. For example, example A does not show maximum parsimony because of the numerous notches. However, example B shows this concept because it is not complex and shows very little notches. There is 1 notch for eyes here and 3 notches for eyes there. Now we're going to show you how to make a cladogram. First, you must create a character table. In a character table, you organize various organisms in order to determine the presence or absence of certain characteristics. For example, the chart illustrates that Komodo dragons have limbs, whereas earthworms do not. We use this data to make a cladogram. The first step is to determine which organism exhibits the least amount of characteristics. In this case, it is the amoeba that goes first. After the amoeba, we look back at the character table and see which characteristic is exhibited by the next organism. A sponge is multicellular, and this notch tells us that every organism after it is also multicellular. You do the same thing with each remaining characteristics in organisms. This cladogram exhibits maximum parsimony. This tree wouldn't show maximum parsimony if the notch for hair was located here and here. This would imply that koalas and cows acquire their hair independently. This concludes our paper slide presentation on how to create a phylogenetic tree. And shout out to Miss Kersting for keeping it 100 every day.